7 skies. So what would khalaqa be?
Oh, created, not
There
guided.
you go. Yeah,
Yes.
so there you go, right? So that's why waiting. I'm like, okay, let him read forward and then he'll figure out. Okay, great.
أنعامهم, the cattle, وأنفسهم, themselves, and themselves. أفلا, then do not. يبصرون, they see.
Okay, perfect. Mashallah. Okay, Sister Sumaya, what do you think?
كلما أرادوا أن يخرجوا, anytime they desire to leave it.
Okay, very good.
كذابنا.
Sorry, what is Nadir?
Oh, warner.
Warner, very good. Yes, Warner. Any questions? Let's start with that in case anybody got stuck with anything. Inshallah, we want to complete Surah Al-Sajda today. So that means 21 till 30. So we can wrap up the week this way, bi'idhnillah. And we'll obviously pause for some reflections along the way. Quite a few interesting things that will be coming up that inshallah will not take a few moments to talk about. Yeah, so let's see if there's any questions in case, and if not, let's get some numbers of if you were able to do some practice rounds yesterday. Let's see. Awesome.
With the identifications, is it more important at this stage to identify the pronouns and the beginnings, and then we can fill in the root words, or the root words are more important at this point?
Yeah, I would say that, you know, those things that are more repetitive, like pronouns, you know, those connectors that comes before or after, however you think of it, like as Lego bricks, or you can think of it as layers of cake. So usually you would have something in the beginning that will give you the meaning, like we have seen al for the, for generics or what have you. We have seen the ya and the ta, and so on and so forth for pronouns. And then we have seen the endings for either emphasis, like nun mushaddad, nun with a shadda. We have seen wa nun and the ya nun. So I think I would suggest that's more important, because that will help you, you know, figure out that, okay, well, that's my base of the cake, and I just need to figure out the flavor. And these are the additionals on top or the bottom that help me to identify other things. Awesome. Okay, anybody else? Awesome. Okay, so I want to, host power Rida, please.
Apologies. Here we go, inshallah. There you go.
Yeah. Yes, so I want to mention a few things regarding this. Great question, Hakeem, there. Okay, application windows, share. Okay, so ideally what we want to do, and I would recommend that you guys focus on Surah Sajda, even if you're using Kalam, I mean, again, there's different approaches. I wouldn't recommend just going on words by itself. Within Kalam, if you watch my demo video, you can actually prioritize Surah Sajda as well. So, and then obviously, right, when we look at corpus, it's a vertical view, because we're trying to focus on words and we're trying to take advantage of the coloring scheme and whatnot. But ideally, it should be something like this, right? So for example, I think we stopped it. So let's say if you're reading this, right, and you have the word by word here, whether in Quran.com or whether in your other app or Kalam app or what have you, with this Quranic style, like with full sentences, and you can turn the words off as well, and then seeing that, okay, if I recite the words, تتجافى جنوبهم عن المضاجع يدعون ربهم. And then what's jumping out to me, maybe you'll say, oh, يدعون ربهم, they make dua to their Lord, right? Khawfa, oh, that's jumping out to me. Tama'a, jumping out to me. Razaqnahum, what we have provided. Yunfiqun, they spend. Maybe I don't know what tatajafa means. Maybe I don't know what junubuhim means. But then you're seeing that, okay, these things are jumping out to me. I'm able to recognize. So the point being that make sure that you're either, I would recommend viewing it in this format, and the Kalam cards or anything else can definitely be useful. But that's the end goal, right? So for example, if by the end of this course, and you are comfortable with Surah Al-Sajda, that you are reading it or you're listening to it, and 80–90% of the content is making sense to you, then that will start having ripple effect, and you will start understanding in other pieces of Quran as well. So that would be my suggestion, to really master Surah Al-Sajda. right? Don't rush into the other and what have you in your practice round. So if you can master Surah Sajda and you're comfortable with it, that will be a big win, bi'idhnillah. And obviously, we'd love to hear from you towards the end of the course and as you continue, how this was helpful in your transformative journey and relationship with Quran, and were you able to take it from this to other surahs or not. Once you have done Surah Sajda, my recommendation would be that if there is a surah that you usually recite, especially something other than Juz' Amma, like for example, if you have a habit of reading or listening to Surah Al-Kahf or Surah Al-Mulk or Yasin or something else that you would usually touch one way or the other, or you are memorizing a surah, I would recommend that you then take the same approach and apply it to master that other surah. And then, you can take it forward from there, one surah at a time. And obviously, the more you're becoming familiar, it will start just becoming easier and easier from there on. Okay, awesome. Yes, so Surah Al-Mulk can be for Sahar. And, depending, because, you know what's your go-to surah. The reason I'm not going to say the Juz' Amma, because those are much shorter verses, and the amount of new vocabulary in that is relatively higher than what you would see in other longer surahs of Quran with longer verses. Okay, so that's my pitch for that. So let's keep that in mind, and let's have a goal, as we said, like play to win, right? And let's really have that intention. You have 4 more weeks to at least master Surah Sajda. Even if you master 5 verses a week or 10 verses a week, then inshallah by the end you can definitely be comfortable with Surah Sajda and maybe one more. And if not, even if you just walk away with mastering Surah Sajda, that would be awesome. Okay, so with that, let's continue with verse number 21. So same thing, I'll just go ahead and start pointing out those layers of the cake, right? Or the Lego attachments. So we have a wa, right? So everybody should know this means and. Lam fatha is for emphasis, right? So you gotta keep saying it in your mind, so your mind will make that connection. And then you have the nun mushaddad as well, which is also for emphasis. And then you have the hum, which is the object pronoun for them. Okay, now you're left with nun, dhal, ya, qaf. The first nun is for we, right? So that will be your guess. And then now you just have to figure out the flavor of the cake, or the root letters, if you will, which is dhal, ya, qaf, from tasting. Okay, and if you have been reading Surah Al-Dukhan with the Ustad, you probably saw that there as well, right? Dhuk, right? Taste. So you have that same thing there in a command format. So وَلَنُذِيقَنَّهُمْ, and surely, definitely, we will make them taste. Min, from. Now look at this, عَذَابِ الْأَدْنَى. So we have seen a few of this in yesterday and today. We saw عَذَابِ الْخُلْدِ, right? Punishment of eternity. We saw عَذَابِ النَّارِ, the punishment of the fire. And now we're saying عَذَابِ الْأَدْنَى. So this is a new one. However, it has the root letters of dal, nun, ya, which is the same root letters that we use for the word dunya. Which means something that's close to you. That's why dunya is also called dunya, because it's something close, instant gratification, what have you. I see a question of why 3 noons. What are the 3 noons? Oh, I'm assuming you're talking about this one here. So this noon, which has the emphasis noon mushaddad, we saw that earlier as well. This is used, it comes at the end, right? And this is used for emphasizing something. So basically you have 2 types of emphasis here. One is your noon mushaddad at the end, and you also have a lam fatha. So it's really emphasizing, really making it a point that they will definitely, most certainly, will be made to test the punishment of the near, meaning that it's not going to be just the punishment in the hereafter, but rather they will feel that punishment, that discomfort, that anxiety, or however Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses to punish them in this world as well. Hope that answers your question, Maniz. Okay, duna means other. It also means before or other. Okay, duna al-adhabi, before the punishment or other than the punishment, which is al-akbar, the greater punishment. That is the punishment of the hereafter. Right, al-akbar, everybody knows, Allahu Akbar, the greater, the greatest. Dun al-adhab al-akbari la'allahum. So we also saw la'alla before, which means perhaps, so that they may, right? So that's the goal of doing something. That's the expectation of doing something. You would say la'alla. If you hope something, if you desire something, if you're expecting something. So that's where you would use the word la'allahum, means they. So la'allahum, so that they yarji'un. that they may return, right? So yarji'un now we have seen several times already. Ra, jim, ain. We saw raji'un. I think we saw yarji'un yesterday as well. The ya is for he. Wa'nun makes it plural, which means they return. Moving on, unless there's a question, giving you 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3.
Question.
Yeah.
Yarja'un, the jim has a kasra, but the last one, which was in ayat 11, the jim has a fatha.
Great observation. There's a slight difference there as well, which we haven't covered that pattern, but that will be something probably I will bring it up next time. Yes, the key difference there is, let me just introduce you a quick concept. I don't want to spend too much time. Maybe we'll come back to it depending on how the day goes today. So verbs in Arabic language can be 2 forms. Either they're active, which we have talked so far about. What we haven't touched is the passive verbs. So passive verbs in Arabic language, the doer is not mentioned. The doer is not mentioned. It's hidden. So the pronoun that's there is the pronoun of the receiver. Pronoun of the receiver is attached. So basically what you are talking about, yurja'un, is in passive format, that they will be returned. So you see, yurja'un, the pronoun is they, but they are on the receiving end, that they are being returned by causing them to die. Does that make sense? As a simple explanation for now.
So the one with the fatha is active?
Yes, for now, but obviously they have a lot of different patterns, right? So even that notion of yurja'un, you would also get it from the context as you look at that whole ayah, the way it's structured. But yes, obviously there are details to it. There's a difference in terms of how they are constructed, but I wouldn't start worrying about memorizing those patterns because that would become too much, right? However, because you had that observation, so I just wanted to kind of tell you what's going on.
I think it's causing me an issue when I'm memorizing.
Yeah,
That's
so
the-
you will, yeah, right. So yes, so I think for now, yeah, let's just go with that hint that you have already observed. But then obviously as we dig deeper, we learn more patterns, then you will start seeing that, okay, this is an active form and this is a passive form and so on and so forth. But now knowing that, hey, there is a passive form, that would help you, you know, add that pattern to your vocabulary, and then you might be realizing it as passive as well. And by the way, this corpus actually does tell you that as well. Yarji'un. Do you remember the verse? We said 11, right?
Yes, correct.
Oh, turja'un. Yes. So you all will be returned, right? So see, it says in passive here. Turja'un as a passive verb. So
Okay.
yeah, so right now I understand that that's breaking the pattern, but at least you know which category to put that into.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so no worries. So what's number 22 then? Waman and who. Man is something we saw yesterday. Avlamu is similar to akbaru, right? So you have a akbar, avlam, similar pattern, but you have la, lam, mim, which is the flavor of the cake, the root letters, which means to be unjust, to wrong. Mimman, from who? From who or than who? Who is more unjust than who? Dhukkira. Dhukkira. Okay, that's another one, right? This is also passive. Okay, dhukkira, he is reminded. Okay, so what's the pronoun here? Because there's no attachment, so the pronoun is he, but the pronoun is representing the one who is being reminded because it's passive. So the doer is not mentioned, right? It's not saying that, you know, his friend is reminding him, his father is reminding him of Allah. However, right, whatever the case may be, the focus is on the action and the receiver of the action. So the one who is being reminded, bi ayati, with the verses. This is not new. We saw that yesterday. Rabbihi, his Lord. So someone who is reminded with the verses of Allah, with the verses of his Lord. So that's the focus here. The doer is not the big deal here. Thumma, then, a'rada, from ayn, ra, dad. A'rada means he turns away. He turns away. Anha, from them, with the meaning the ayat, but the verse is, inna, indeed we, min, from al-mujrimeen. Okay, this is something we have seen yesterday, right? The meme words, right? Meme and yanun, and then you have the core, the flavor of the cake, which is jim, ra, meme, the root letters being criminal. Muntaqimun, muntaqimun, someone who takes retribution, someone who takes revenge. So we will, from the wrongdoers, we will be the ones who will take revenge. وَلَقَدْ, and certainly, laqad means certainly, atayna, we gave, this is not new, I think we saw that yesterday, we gave Musa al-kitaba, the book to Musa, the book to Musa. We gave the book to Musa alayhi salam. Fala, then not takun, you be. Kun means be, right? So you guys know kun, which means kun fayakun. Be and it becomes, right? That's the standard format. We know takun, you be. The ta is for you. Takun, you be fi in mirya, doubt. Mirya is a doubt. There's no ba here, but you can think of it as similar to the word raib that you know, ra, ya, ba. Mirya, to not be in doubt, min, from liqa'ihi. Liqa is, I think, also something we saw earlier, which means meeting. He, liqa'ihi, his meeting or his receiving it. وَجَعَلْنَاهُ. وَجَعَلْنَا, that is not new. We made it huda, a guide. Libani. So li here is for, right? So I think we have been talking about li several times. Lina, are you here? We talked about libani, for the children Israel of Israel. Oh, wajalna again, boom, repetition. You guys know this. Minhum, repetition. A'imma, from imam, from leaders. A'imma, we made them leaders. Yahduna, they guide. Yahduna, ya wa nun for they, hadal for huda. Yahduna, they guide. Bi amrina, with our commands. Be with amr, command, na, are, with our commands. Lamma, that's probably new. Lamma means when. Sabaru, they were patient, they had discipline, they had sabr. The they is coming from the wow. Wakanu, and they were bi ayatina. See, it's all repetition. Kanu, ayatina, all repetitions. Yuqinun, I think, is also not new. It was yesterday we saw that from ya qaf noon or waw qaf noon. Yuqinun, they were certain. Okay, so let's pause here. That's a key thing here for if I were to pick one verse for reflection, right? There's a key. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving you the key of making you righteous leaders, right? So remember, one of the reflection points was, what is the promise of Allah in this verse? So what are the two things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is showing us or telling us for us to be righteous leaders? So one is sabr, okay, being patient, being disciplined, being focused, right? So sabr and patience is what to do, what you're supposed to do, right? To obey Allah even if you don't feel like it, to not do things that Allah doesn't want you to do even if you want to do it, right? To be patient if the results are not the way that you expected them to be. Something happened, right? It's a loss of life, of a product, of a business, of a job, of a marriage, whatever it is, right? Being patient with it is because you put the effort, Allah showed you the results. Probably don't like the results, but being patient with it, trusting Allah, all comes under the concept of sabr, under the concept of discipline. What's the other one? What's the other characteristic that's mentioned here? Yes, being certain in the promises of Allah, in the ayat of Allah, in your faith. Because that's what would make you do the things that are not directly connected to your goals, right? Because you would pray because you know prayer has success. You'll do your afkar because you know that they have success and they have protection, and so on and so forth. So let's take a moment here to think about it, that where in my life, if you want, you can share or at least do a reflection. What's one area in my life where I'm not showing sabr, where I'm not showing discipline, where my mindset is weak, right? Because if you think about yaqeen and iman, we talked about that in our first session for this week as well. Play to win. The dua, the hadith of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that ask Allah while you are certain of acceptance, right? So really believe that Allah will make it happen. Don't just say it for the sake of saying it. Want it, be determined, and so on and so forth. And you see similar things in other places in Quran as well, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu ista'inu bis-sabri was-salah. Seek help, utilize these two qualities, which is the salah, the prayers, sort of also related to being the concept of yaqeen, and as-sabr, discipline. And for the mindset, one of the things that we talked about last time was the concept of shukr, right? Being grateful to Allah. So let's also take a moment to think about something that we are really grateful for. Something that you have been asking and Allah gave it to you. Now you may have become desensitized to it. You may have started taking it for granted. So let's pause for 30 seconds and ask us these questions. Where can I use more sabr in my life? What is that one thing that I had been asking? Allah gave it to me. I may probably don't appreciate it as much. I've started taking for granted, or I've become desensitized to it. And hopefully that would have a ripple effect for the rest of your day and week, inshallah. Right? Continuing on. Inna, indeed, Rabbaka, your Lord. Absolutely. Yeah, we just become desensitized, like, as if we always had it. And then when we didn't have it, so it's really important to kind of remember the time when we didn't have it. And there may be certain things that we have it and we have always had it, but then to reflect on people who don't have it and how their lives are without that thing, whatever ability to see, walk, hear, listen, right? Because we just take it for granted. But imagine if we didn't have it, how would we be doing our daily things? What would change? All right, inna, indeed, Rabbaka, your Lord. Nothing new here, right? Huwa, he, nothing new. Yafsilu, that's probably new, from fa, sad, lam, to make a judgment, to distinguish, to separate. Yafsilu baynahum. Bayna, I think, is not new, between them. Yawm al-qiyamati, the day of judgment, the day of resurrection. Fima, in what, kanu, they were, fihi, in it, yahtalifun. From kha, lam, fa, to differ. Yahtalifun, they used to differ. So probably like only one or two new things here, right? We did like 10 words quickly, but there's only one or two new things here. Okay, it looks like we are on target for our goal, and inshallah we'll have a good time for practice today, and we'll finish strong for week 2 bi-idhnillah. Well, any questions? You can pause me, we have time. How to ask that question? What is the first thing, second thing we extract when to look a word? Okay, so there's a memorization component. Okay, and there is a getting used to component. So our approach is two things. Obviously, you have to rely on your memory and practice as you learn new words. But what we're trying to do is separating the layers, and that is to make your job easier, right? Because layers are very important. So if I go back, let's take a look at a few examples. Actually, I'm going to do it in this format. Okay, let's see if we take this format. I'm going to turn the word by word off. And let's take it as an example. Okay, so we are looking at this verse, right? You're reading this verse. You know what? Let's just turn the translation off as well. No, why not? So now you're seeing this verse. Okay, whether it's being recited or it's coming. Okay, would anybody like to take a live take at it and then start breaking down things and mute yourself?
Is it and he made?
Yes, but like, let's see if we can start taking. Yes, so what would happen, right? So now when I'm looking at ja'alna with practice, as the sister said, you won't have to break it apart. You just become familiar because you've seen ja'alna so many times. Minhum has been coming in so many times, right? So it's like when you start doing something new for the first time, you're driving the car, you're thinking, oh, okay, I have to start, I have to put the gears, I have to look left, right. And, when I'm slowing down, I have to be more careful. But once you keep doing it, then you don't think about those steps. The more you do the steps, it becomes second nature and you don't have to think about it. Same thing with swimming, same thing with anything else that you try. So when it's new, you're thinking of it in so many different steps. But if you keep practicing those steps, they become second nature and you don't even think about it. And that's what happens when you try to go somewhere else and you end up somewhere else because you're on autopilot. So instead of going to like masjid, you end up becoming a gym or vice versa, or go to school, what have you, because it just happened to be a different time of the day where you're usually driving there, but it's a holiday and you're not going somewhere else, and boom, you just take the different exit, right? So the point being that it just would get there, right? But for now, it might be like, oh, I know wa is and, I know what is na, it means we or us. Okay, I don't know what ja'alna means. I know what is minhum, maybe. Maybe I don't know a'imma. Maybe I'm gonna think about it. A'imma, similar, sounds similar to imam, maybe something to do with that. Yahduna, okay, huda and guidance. And I know ya wa nun is for they, right? So maybe I don't know how that means, but I know ya wa nun pattern is for they. I know be is with, na is us or our, lamma is new, maybe I don't know, right? So stuff that so when you're looking at it, there is going to be things that you're familiar with. Just like you go to a wedding or you go to a lunch and you recognize some people, right? And oh, I know this person. Oh, that's her name. That's Dr. Gina. That's Hakeem. That's Rida. That's Lena. Okay, but then, oh, this looks familiar. This person looks familiar, but I can't think of the name. So it's like 50-50. Then you might ask them their name, right? You might look at the translation, and then hopefully next time you see them, then you will remember them as well. And there's going to be someone, oh, I have no idea who this person is, right? So for example, yuqinun, oh, I have no idea. I know that I can see some layers. I can see ya and wawnun for they, but what is this middle flavor? I don't know what that is. So you will look it up, and then you'll see, oh, okay, this means yaqeen. Okay, they were certain. So that's how it's going to be, right? Imagine going to a party, imagine going to a wedding, imagine going to a lunch. You will identify some very well. You will identify some 50-50, and you will have some new. And as you keep doing that, you will start making that relationship. So to your point, Hira, I think that you asked that question, right? So once you identify, so instead of then saying, oh, I have no idea, Yahduna, no idea what Yahduna is, Yuqinuna, I have no idea, you actually have some idea. You can identify that ya and wawnun, the ya at the beginning and wawnun at the end means they. Just like same thing, ya at the beginning and wawnun at the end means they. So now you just have to figure out what is this hadal and what is this waw qaf noon. Make sense? Yes, it has Urdu, it has all the different languages. I don't know if it has word by word Urdu or not, but translation, it has everything. See Chinese, Dutch, Finnish, French. So translation, you have a lot, but I don't think word by word has Urdu. But then there are, like, you can probably look up Darussalam word by word Urdu, you'd find it. Or obviously you have Al-Huda and whatnot. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, 4 verses. Bismillah. Awalam. A is for question, right? We saw that yesterday. Wow is and lam not. Or not. Yahdi. So again, from Huda, right? It guides. Lahum, them, come. How many? So come is a new one. Come, how many? So it's a new friend. You spotted in the party. Oh, I don't know this guy. Come. What's this about? Come means how many? Okay, let's see. When you see it next time, then perhaps you will realize. Ahlakna, from ha, lam, kaf. That's also a new word, I think. Ahlakna, we have destroyed. Min, from. That's our old friend. We have seen that so many times. Qablihim, I think that's also an old friend. We know it. Or maybe 50-50. Qablihim, before them. Min, from. Al-Quruni. Oh, another new person. The generations. From qaf, ra, nun. Right? That's generation. The waw in the middle. Hey, we know this. The waw in the middle coming usually makes it plural. Okay, so qurun, generations. Yamshuna, oops, another new friend. We don't know this one before. Yamshuna, they, something with mim sheen. What is mim sheen? Oh, that's for walking. Mim sheen for walking. Actually, this comes in Surah Al-Mulk as well. Okay, Yamshuna, they walk about. Fi in, oh, thank you. Another friend that we already knew. So this verse has a lot of new friends. This party, this lunch has a lot of new friends for you. Masakin, sin kaf na, sin kaf noon, for place to live, dwellings, their places of living, their places of habitat. Inna, oh, thank God, a friend that we already know. Indeed, fi, we already know. Dhalika, we already know. La ayat, oh, we already know. So many known friends, right? Afala, then do not. That's also a known friend. And yasma'un, another known friend. We did that yesterday. Right? Yasma'un, from they hear. Okay. Now, if you want to see it in this format, see, awalam yahdi lahum kam ahlakna, new. Min, I know it. Qablim, I know. Min, I know. Al-Qurun, new. Yamshuna, new. Fi, I know. Masakinihim, new. Inna, I know. Fi, I know. Dhalika la ayat afala yasma'un. So you have like 3 new friends here. Okay, let's befriend them. Awalam, okay, not new anymore. Yaraw, not new. They see. Yaraw is not new anymore. Anna, that we. Nasuqu, that is new, right? We drive. Al-ma'a, not new. I think we saw that yesterday, the water. Ila, to, not new. Al-ard, not new. Oh, new friend. Al-juruz. Al-juruz. Ja, ra, zai. Okay, barren. فَنُخْرِجُ, not new. We bring forth, we take out, we extract, bihi, with it, zara'a, new, crops. Ta'kulu, from Hamza, Kaf, Lam, to eat. That's a new one. Ta'kulu, you eat, minhu, from it, not new. An'amuhum, and their cattles. Sorry. Ta'kulu minhu, an'amuhum, their cattles eat from it. An'am, Surah Al-An'am, you may know this thing, which means cattle. If not, okay, new word, I take it. An'amuhum, their cattles eat from it. Eat from what? Zara'an, the crops that Allah bring out from the barren land. Wa anfusuhum, that is not new. Yesterday we did that, right? Noon, fa, sin, for nafs. Yesterday we saw that. Maybe you didn't make a good friend of that word, but hey, it's not new. But we saw that yesterday. Now you're seeing that again. That's fine. Now hopefully you will know it. And their selves, afala, then do not yubsirun. Oh, finally something that we definitely know. We have seen this root letter several times in this surah. Ba, sad, ra, to see. Yubsirun, they see. Okay. Last three verses. Any questions? Let's make some new friends. وَيَقُولُونَ, hey, our buddy, we know this one before. And they say, mata.
Ustad.
Yes. Walaikum
I
assalam.
just have, yeah, one observation, like when we went back to the word 32:26:12, if I was to see that, I would automatically think of the needy, because I think of miskin. So what makes this one become a dwellings rather than a poor person?
Okay, so here is a hint, right? What
Mhm.
miskin, one of the things about miskin is that he doesn't move around, he doesn't go to parties, right? So he sticks to his dwelling, right? He's more stationary, he's not doing much, right? Because he don't have a lot of resources to do much. But yes, you're right. So there's a connection here, but what you would say is like, okay, these guys are similar, they're cousins, but miskin is a poor person and masakin is a place to live. Just like, you know how sometimes you see there are two people who look similar, but you say, okay, this is you know, Josefina and this is Lena, but they look similar somehow, right? So as that's an example.
Okay, alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair.
Oh, yeah. All right. So Yakuluna is our old friend. Mata, I think, is a new one, which is men. Hada, this al-fathu, this decision, in if kuntum, you are sadiqeen. Probably not new, right? Sidq, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, Sad, Dal, Qaf, to be truthful. So if you're truthful, when will this decision, this victory, so fath can also be victory or decision, will come, right? Why are you not victorious yet? So that was a criticism that they would do. So now Allah is saying, Qul. Qul is definitely not a new one. We know this all the time. Qul ya ayyuhal kafirun. Qul huwa Allahu ahad. Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq. Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas. Say. That's a command. So that is definitely our best friend. We already know it. Great. Yawma. Oh, absolutely. We know this one. Maliki yawmiddin. Al-Fathi. So Yawmiddin, the day of judgment. Yawm al-Fathi, the day of decision, the day of victory. La, not. Definitely not a new one. We know this one. Every Muslim knows this, right? La ilaha illallah. Okay, so we know this. La yanfa'u. I'm not sure if we have seen this before. Nun fa'ain, to benefit. Yanfa'u, it will benefit. Allazina, definitely not a new one. Kafaru, definitely not a new one. Imanuhum, their iman, their belief, definitely not a new one. Lots of people that we already know in this party. Wala, and not whom, they, yunvarun. From noon, dhad, ra. And now we can say, hey, this is another passive one, thanks to sister who asked a question. Who was it that introduced us to passive today? Remember the sister who asked a question about yurja'un or turja'un? Oh, she's so humble, not taking. Oh, Maniz, there you go.
It was this one, the za has a fatha and everything.
Yes. So that's why I was saying, like, there was going to be different patterns, but now you at least know that, hey, a verb can be active or passive. ينظرون, they will be granted respite. So they will not be given any chance. They won't be given any other chance or respite, because now it wouldn't benefit them, right? On the day when the decision has come, when on the time when you're dying, now the disbelievers won't get any benefit because it's too late now. And last one, فَأَعْرِضْ. Okay. Now here, I would challenge that we just saw أعرض a second ago. Let me show you. أعرض, he turned away, right? Now here, you have it in a command format, فأعرض. So turn away from them, give them respite. That's a command format. عنهم, from them, وانتظر, right? And wait, from noon, ظا, را. Okay, so this means and wait, and this is the same thing. Noon, ظا, را, given a time to wait, or وانتظر and wait, similar. إنهم, indeed they, منتظرون, those who wait. Okay, so in a way, when you get exposed to this friend, noon, ra, this flavor of the cake, now you can see that, okay, I kind of understand the base flavor. I know the person, but now sometimes he comes in a tuxedo, sometimes he's wearing a shalwar qameez, sometimes he's wearing a thobe. It's just dressed differently. Sometimes there's a cheese layer on top and a strawberry topping, and sometimes there's a carrot base, and so on and so forth. Okay, if there are no questions, we will do some group work. I think we have a lot of time. Yeah, we have 5 minutes.
I have one question.
Yes, go ahead.
There was two when on this page. In ayah 24, lamma was when, and then in ayah 28, mata was when. So can you
Yes.
tell me the difference, why different words were used?
I mean, for sure, there's like a lot that can be said, but for our part, we will translate them all as when. So we have if as when, we have mata as when, and we have what was the other one? If, mata. What was the other one you said?
Lamma.
Lemma, yes. So we'll all translate them all as when. See, that's the thing, right? If you are now speaking English or you are writing English, you will obviously use the right one for the right context, and they each have their own position. However, our work is easy. When we just see them, we're like, okay, they're all whens. Okay, so we have 7 minutes as per Reza. Any questions? If not, we can do a good 7-minute group and really get practicing. And then we'll wrap up our second week with that. Alhamdulillah, 1/3 in the way. And now we have you have seen, like, at least you have shaken hand with everyone in this party, right? And now you just have to keep seeing them again. And then you'll become close friends with them. And then when you see them again in the next party, in the next surah, you will remember them.